Thank you, gentlemen, for the invitation to speak at the Government Discussion Convention. I believe it is a beautiful way to reflect on our past, as well as introduce America's future. Before I begin my speech, I would like to formally introduce myself to you all. I am Alexander Hamilton. I was born in the Caribbean islands in the year 1757. My father is James Hamilton, and my dear mother is Rachel Fassat Lavion. Growing up on the islands led me to learn trade and economics, and I was given the opportunity to study at King's College in New York. I have served in the Army alongside George Washington and joined his presidential cabinet. Now, gentlemen, I have come to this committee with only one intention: the discussion of the state of our government. As a government worker and a citizen, I must address the unbalance between the state and the national government. In an anti-federalist mind, each state should declare itself in a way that presents itself as its own country. If that were to occur, it would be inevitable that our country would only further split. Allowing each state to run on its own accord will only cause division in a nation needing unity. Therefore, a central government is a necessity for our country. It has worked in the years I have been in the U.S. government, and I believe it will continue to prove successful. A centralized government ensures that the people of the United States are protected, allowing those with the skill and necessary intelligence to make our most important decisions. Thomas Jefferson said, "A government big enough to give you everything is a government you want, is a government big enough to take it all away." This is a mindset many Americans perceive of an engaged government after being wronged by the British powers. But we have security to our rights, and that is the U.S. Constitution. The Constitution states that no state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States. The roots of this country are placed in such a way that no government on this soil can corrupt it. Rebellions and riots are proof of the system of state powers. When you allow the mob choice, only rash decision moved by emotion will occur. As a country, we cannot continue to allow outbursts by the people over necessary actions. If we as a country want to continue to stay afloat, we need taxes. As the United States Secretary of Treasury, I have already set taxes on whiskey, which help carry our country out of debt. We have won the war against the British, but we still must address the debt of our country, totaling $40 million. I strongly suggested the federal government pay all of the Confederation's debts. I was aware the states of Maryland, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Virginia have paid off the debts, but profit was guaranteed for the whole country. This profit benefited the bonds bought from Revolutionary War veterans, allowing our country to once again be saved by our patriotic heroes. The national debt proved successful, and multiple foreign investors poured in their money for our debt. This is solid evidence of the legitimacy and effectiveness of the federal government in America. My next point is the National Bank. I had given my report to the National Bank in 1790 to convince Congress of the necessity of a national bank. I will give a summary of what the report consists of. My report included, and here I quote, "The capital stock of the bank shall not exceed $10 million, divided into 25,000 shares, each share being $400. Bodies, politic, as well as individuals may subscribe. This means the bank will consist of both the government and private individuals controlling the bank. This means the bank will have both public and private views and control, ensuring all individuals benefit. The bank would have the ability to print its own currency, which promotes our economy. The National Bank was created to be security for our federal government and ensure our government is safe. I brought the idea in 1791, and Congress passed a bill allowing the creation of the National Bank for a guaranteed 20 years. My next point will be the Federalist Papers, along with the Federalist political party. These 2 points are influential in our government's recent history, and I believe it is imperative we discuss them. The Federalist Papers were written to rally support for the Constitution. James Madison, John Jay, and I wrote the Federalist Papers, comprising 85 articles, 51 of which were written by me. As we are short on time, I will explain one of the articles written by me. I will now read a portion of Article 70 of the Federalist Papers. be personally responsible for his behavior in office. The reason which, in the British Constitution, dictates the priority of a council not only ceases to apply, but turns against the institution. In the monarchy of Great Britain, it furnishes a substitute for the prohibited responsibility of the chief magistrate, which serves, in some degree, as a hostage to the national justice for his good behavior. In the American Republic, it would serve to destroy, or would greatly diminish, the intended and necessary responsibility of the chief magistrate himself. The idea of a council to the executive, which has so generally been obtained in the state constitution, has been derived from the maxim of Republican jealousy, which considers power as safer in the hands of a number of men than of a single man. If the maxim should be admitted to be applicable to the case, I should contend that the advantage on the side would not counterbalance the numerous disadvantages on the opposite side. But I do not think the rule at all is applicable to the executive power. I clearly concur in opinion in this particular with a writer whom the celebrated Junius pronounces to be deep, solid, and ingenious, that the executive power is more easily confined when it is one. That is far more safer there should be a single object for the jealousy and watchfulness of the people, and, in a word, that all multiplication of the executive is rather dangerous than friendly to liberty. Article 70. This means that the executive power of the president needs to be forceful. A strong man will be necessary to lead our republic, and will end in the end will promote unity. If we have too many men leading the executive branch, it will only harm the liberty of our country, rather than protect it. If we have two executives, it will only cause arguments and opposition between sides. The president provides stability, protecting the people from themselves and other countries. The articles of the Federalist Papers were incredibly important in educating the people of America about the contents of the Constitution and supporting a central government. The Federalist political party supported the idea of a central government and pushed for the ratification of the Constitution. Many members include George Washington, James Madison, and myself. George Washington, the President of the United States, allowed our message to reach the American people greatly. We pushed for the revision of the Articles of Confederation, a document that was loosely written in a way that would not guarantee America's future. The anti-federalists who opposed us were simply men who had no rational ideas of government. Of course, there was a compromise between the two parties, and the Bill of Rights was included in the Constitution. The Constitution was ratified, firstly by Delaware, New Jersey, and Connecticut, but quickly states agreed to the Constitution. The last state to agree was Rhode Island, and with that, the rules and guidelines of our country were born. In conclusion, I believe the Government Discussion Convention will allow our country to self-reflect on our decision before moving forward. With the ideas of expanding west and dealing with our neighboring Indians, I believe reflecting on the Constitution will be necessary. A loose interpretation in the future will allow our country to adapt and face future controversies. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, gentlemen, for the invitation to speak at the Government Discussion Convention. I believe it is a beautiful way to reflect on our past as well as introduce Americans.